What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to be looking at a game that obviously takes a lot of inspiration from the Castlevania series, more so the earlier arcade versions of these games and not the Metroidvania ones we got later. Now, it should be known that Gal Guardians, which is the name of this title, is a spin-off of a different game series known as Gal Gun, made by Inti Creates. Same peeps who gave us several Mega Man titles from Capcom and even brought us the Gun Vault games. I know very little about the Gal Gun series as I haven't played their games even as of now. In fact, my only exposure I've had towards them was thanks to Mighty Gun Vault back on the DS days, as well as Mighty Gun Vault Burst or Gal Gun Vault Burst if you're playing this on the PlayStation. If you want a full extensive breakdown of the Gal Gun games, Clement did a very good job with his video on both of them, but the real meat and potatoes is, Gal Gun is a perverted style rail shooter with a lot of high schoolers involved, something that isn't my cup of tea in the slightest. So I'm just gonna nip that in the bud right now and let you know that I will not go near these games with a 10-foot pole. Clement, you a real one for taking one for the team. With all that being said, Gal Guardians is very tame compared to its source material, but it will throw in some risque themes here and there, most of it being played for laughs than anything else. But at its core, it will play exactly like an old school Castlevania title. With that preamble out of the way, let's figure out if this game is at least as good as its inspiration. In Gal Guardians Demon Purge, you are in control of the duo protagonists Shinobu and Maya, who are professional demon hunters while still living that high school life. When the two of them returned to high school one morning, the entire place was transformed into this demonic castle, trapping all of the students inside with the demons running the show. This is all because of a nasty prank Corona pulled after messing around with a powerful mirror she discovered, wanting to get back at the demon hunter siblings for putting an end to her pranks in the past. So now both Shinobu and Maya need to journey into the castle and reverse this entire mess Corona had set up while rescuing all of the students who are trapped inside of this twisted dimension. As you are playing the duo, you're freely able to switch between these two at any time, and both girls play differently from each other, even right down to their sub-weapons. Shinobu prefers to deal with these demonic threats by turning them into Swiss cheese thanks to her machine gun. Just keep in mind that this gun does not have unlimited bullets, as you'll need to reload it every now and then, which is done by hitting down twice. She becomes a sitting duck while reloading, but you can cancel the animation by attacking, jumping, or switching to Maya. Of course, if the animation didn't play out completely, you still need to reload. She can of course fire her gun while airborne, but keep in mind she can't turn around as long as she's shooting. It does allow her to kite backwards though, which is always helpful if you need to distance yourself while firing. Her sub-weapons also complement her long-range gameplay. The throwing knives are great for dealing with enemies above you, and she can lob grenades at tankier foes. Her mine deals impressive damage along with breaking certain terrain. She has an Anusha that is great for ghost busting and can even summon Mr. Happiness for restoring a large amount of health, while the rocket launcher is perfect for dealing with enemies when shooting up the place isn't enough. She even gets a grappling hook that costs no energy and really allows Shinobu to get around certain areas with ease. Once I got this thing, I was scaling walls and ceilings, skipping platforming sections like it ain't no one's business. As a matter of fact, it's more accurate to say that this thing functions almost exactly the same as a chain rod from Mega Man Zero. Then you have her sister Maya, who is all about that close range combat. She's given a 3-step combo treatment with a third attack throwing out short range shurikens, and she does way more damage than her sister, but her low health pool makes her a bit riskier to use. Unlike Shinobu, her sub-weapons are a bit more defensive and offers some form of utility. The Shikigami paper dolls orbit around Maya like a leaf shield and will stay on screen even if you switch to the other character. It's great for dealing with all kinds of projectiles and highly effective against these fake Medusa heads while platforming. Trust me, you're gonna want this on as often as possible when dealing with them or any other smaller enemies. The paper crane is mainly used as a platform and can even drift in the direction of the moving current. Plus, if Shinobu is standing on a paper crane and charging up her Onusha, she can actually cause the bird to move. The penguin freezes enemies on the dot, and they can even be used as platforms. Plus, if you hit them, they are destroyed instantly, making it the perfect sub-weapon for taking down tanky enemies. The umbrella lets Maya glide across large chasms, and it can even make platforming very trivial, especially when her Shikigami is active. Plus, if you attack while the weapon is fully charged, she'll use an suppressive air dash that will damage enemies along the way. Then we have her scythe, which is great for instantly killing enemies that isn't a boss. And finally, the Hudai doll can break spikes and mow down weaker enemies as it's flailing its arms. It will also self-destruct if it can't move anymore. I should note you don't have all of these sub-weapons from the jump. You'll progressively earn them as you defeat the main bosses in each area of the castle, but I'm gonna revisit that topic in a little bit. Both of the sisters will have their uses, and it's highly recommended that you switch between them often, as they can handle certain situations far better than the other. Trust me, the amount of times where you want to switch to sisters will come up often enough. Aside from their fighting styles, the rest of what this pair can do is almost universal. Both of them share the same movement speed, jump height, and can crouch, but Maya is the only one who can crawl and access spaces her sister cannot. Both of them can also unleash a powerful shot that behaves much like a high damaging screen nuke if it lands, but you can only use this when your purge meter is full. You'll progressively fill this meter up over time, but it can fill up much faster when you collect these items that will fill up your meter by a larger amount. These same items also fill up your pride meter at the very top right of the screen. Filling this up will give you an extra life, and you can also gain more if you collect these ghost looking items on the field. If either sister happens to bite the dust, you won't lose a life right away. You'll take control of the other sister from the last checkpoint you've cleared, and if you manage to make it back where you've lost one of your demon hunters, you can resurrect them and pick up right where you left off. In the event you lose a sister within the area that is exclusive to their skill set, they will always be found just before you're able to enter that area again, so you won't be completely screwed over should you return. The only time you'll lose a life is if both sisters bite the dust, and at that point, you'll respawn at the last checkpoint. On higher difficulties, however, losing one sister will result in the loss of a life, even if the other sister is still alive. Like I said earlier on, Demon Purge is set up to play exactly like Castlevania. For those who are unfamiliar, you'll be traveling to different areas of the castle, and your main goal is to get from point A to point B, then defeat the big bad at the end. All of the Castlevania elements are there, like breakable structures that contain recovery items, or the branching pathways you can take that can lead you to some hidden goodies like upgrades or students that need to be rescued, like the Reploids in the Mega Man X series. However, not all of these pathways are open to you from the jump. Some will either require a sub-weapon, while others are walled off behind this ivory door until way later in the game. This is why it's always a good idea to revisit these areas as soon as your arsenal expands over time, just so you're able to collect what you've missed and power up the demon hunters as often as possible. Other than that, the areas will definitely challenge you around every turn while you're making your way to the boss. When you're not dealing with these traps that will send you to a different area below with enemies you'll need to fend off, you may also be dealing with certain puzzles, labyrinths, and dangerous obstacles that will test your ability to adapt to whatever is being thrown at you. Knowing exactly when to use which sister in different situations is going to make a big difference on how difficult your journey is going to be. Just to give you an example, this platforming section is very daunting at first, since you not only need to be precise with your jumps, you're also going to be dealing with these fake Medusa heads that will fly in very often, and you're just one hit away from possibly spiking your controller after dying to these for the 20th time. But switching over to Maya and using her Shikigami in tandem with the umbrella will make this platforming section a breeze. There's plenty of other examples I can list, but you get my point. The game is going to hand you the right amount of tools to ensure that you have an easy time. So if you're ever stuck somewhere or just getting your face smashed in, try experimenting with your arsenal and be more fluid with both characters. Now, once you've made it to the end of the area, you're going to be faced with a powerful demon that is currently possessing one of the students, and defeating them is going to turn that student back to normal. The bosses in this game are well designed, each of them with their own set of attack patterns that will become easier to recognize, and they are all manageable so as long as you have access to both sisters. This is another area where being fluid with both demon hunters will come in handy, as both sisters have something that will give them an edge over certain fights. I remembered having a hard time dealing with Blaze Octavian during my first run, until I eventually figured out that his ghost fire can be negated if I just use the Shikigami. As long as that paper doll condom was active, I am free to hack away at this ghastly knight as many times as I want during this phase. Another thing I should point out is that in the event you happen to lose a sister during the fight, but still have access to the other, you can resume the fight like normal, but the boss won't recover all of its health. Rather, it will only recover a portion of it back. Each boss has two phases, some putting you through a powerful desperation move that you must avoid at all costs, while others will change their attack pattern entirely and will even get an an extra bar of health, but it will deplete much faster compared to phase 1. If you happen to clear either of these phases without taking any damage, gaining 2 extra lives will be your reward. Once they are taken down, both sisters will be rewarded with a new sub-weapon as I mentioned earlier, and you can choose to go either right into the next area or revisit previous locations if you want to find some of the upgrades with your newfound gear. Just be aware that if you choose to do the latter, you're going to need to replay the current stage all over again if you want to access the new area, but you won't have to worry about the boss at the end of the stage this time. Now, if you think the game ends by reaching the top of the castle and beating the snot out of Corona, you're about to be sadly mistaken, because while I had not played her source material, it doesn't take long to realize that Corona is petty out here. Her adult form swoops in from the future like she's Trunks from DBZ and boots the sisters right out of the castle, then blocks off their access to the top floor, all because the sisters had defeated her way too many times and she traveled backwards to prevent that from happening. So just like how it's done in Ghouls and Ghosts, the sisters will have to climb the castle again if they want to finally restore their school to its former self. But this isn't just a complete replay for the sake of padding a game out. When the duo begins their reclimb, they encounter an angel who upgrades the demon hunter's gear after rescuing her from some other demons. This upgrade allows Shinobu to occasionally fire rockets that will deal even more damage and break through enemy shields. It works in almost a similar fashion to how Axel's gun worked in Mega Man X8. Plus, she'll be able to aim her gun upwards, so enemies directly above Shinobu can finally catch the smoke. As for Maya, she'll gain a charge attack that will allow her to throw a large shuriken that will remain in place for a few seconds, and if it's done in the air, she can propel herself backwards. With proper positioning, you can use this as an additional jump and access certain areas a lot quicker than you normally would. It is at this point you've entered the second loop where the rest of the game opens up. Now you're given a base of operations where the sisters can select which areas they want to revisit, which is a requirement for every stage in order to gain access to the top floor once more. During your second run, these ivory doors will now open up and fully allow you to explore each area to your heart's content. With this, you'll be able to find the rest of the power-ups and gain access to the other students you couldn't rescue before. However, it should be noted that these new routes are a bit harder than their original paths, as enemies here tend to pack more health and deal more damage than the demons you faced before. The bosses during your second run have also been upgraded to a harder variant of themselves, each of them now using a different attack pattern than what you're used to, and will definitely throw you off your game for a bit until you've relearned the fights and figure out the best way to approach each one. Once you've defeated them for the second time, you'll be rewarded with a very important artifact that is needed to gain access to the top of the castle. This is the part where you're probably expecting me to say that it's one of Dracula's remains or something like that, but no, that's not the case at all here. But I will say that these artifacts are special indeed. Look, I told you about the game's source material. I don't think we should be surprised at this point. But along with these special items, there is another reward you can acquire from the bosses you've taken down. If you were to go talk to Risu, the angel you've rescued earlier, anytime you've defeated a boss, she'll reward you with special candy that can be taken to one of the main students. Doing that is going to allow you to upgrade your sub-weapons, and trust me, you're going to want to upgrade those as much as you can. Now, with only 5 bosses to work with and 12 sub-weapons between both of the sisters, you're probably thinking, well, I'm not going to be able to upgrade every weapon now, am I? Well, you'll be happy to know that Risu will keep rewarding you with these candies as long as you're able to beat the newer bosses, even if you've already defeated them. So pick a stage and a boss you're most comfortable with, then make like Willy Wonka and turn that demon into a candy factory until you're able to upgrade as many sub-weapons as you like. If you want any recommendations on what I prioritize, for Shinobu, the Onusha is an absolute must, as the reduced charge time will let you heal more reliably during boss fights, as well as her grappling hook so that it can be used diagonally. And for Maya, her crane, umbrella, and the penguin are the most important. The rest of the sub-weapons are entirely up to you. Maya Shikigami also gets an honorable mention in terms of weapon priority. Now, one other aspect of the game I absolutely need to talk about are the visuals. Once again, Inti doesn't mess around when it comes to its sprite game, and that still remains consistent to this day. I dig the demon hunting outfits they picked for Shinobu in particular, only because it reminds me of Shinoa's getup from Castlevania Order of Ecclesia. Additionally, I thought it was really cool that both hers and Maya's sprites will react to the heavy wind currents, a detail I don't see too often. This game is also surprisingly bloody. A lot of the enemies will splatter blood all over the place when they're hit, with blood pools remaining even when they're taken out. There's even an environmental stage hazard that will activate the moment the blood is splattered on them, so be mindful of that. The area environments and boss designs will also continue to show Inti's strengths when it comes to putting their visuals to work, with my personal favorite being Blaze Octavius. There are, however, a few things that did bother me throughout my experience. For one, I felt like the jumping physics were a little off. I'm not sure what it is, but both sisters have this weird drift going on every time they jump around, which does make precision platforming a bit more difficult than it should. Eventually I did get used to it, but even with that, there were a number of times where I died due to the drift throwing off my landing on occasion. But another issue that popped up far more frequently than the jumping issues is the voice acting. No, the voice actors themselves are not bad in the slightest. In fact, it's easy to say that they are talented and did a very good job voicing the characters. Just to give an example, Shinobu is voiced by Brittany Lauda, who played a good amount of notable roles like Suna from Hitman Reborn and several Digimon from Digimon Adventure. No, my big issue is how often the characters talk throughout the whole game, yelling their voice lines over and over again to the point where I wish the game had the option to turn them off. Cause man, the demon hunters can get very chatty. It gets even worse when Corona is also involved. I suppose a fix for this would be to switch the voiceovers to Japanese, but if you want absolute silence, that's just not possible. If anything, this is a mere band-aid solution. While I am on the subject of sound, the music in this game is underwhelming. It's not ear-grating bad or anything like that, it's just boring. All I'm saying is, if you're going into this game expecting to hear stuff like this, you'd better lower those expectations. But even with all of this, the first Gal Guardians was quite a surprise. I went into it expecting a Castlevania style game with minor changes from the Konami classic, only to see the game is much more capable of standing out on its own, and I had a lot of fun playing this game. I would show off the 2-player function this game has, since you can play with a friend, but it's only done locally, so I sadly can't speak on that experience. Either way, if you are in need of a quick classic Vania fix and don't mind all the weebery from top to bottom, you could find yourself enjoying this one. And with the game being priced at $24.99, I say you're getting your money's worth out of it. Anyway, that is all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please hit me with that sickety sub, give this video a thumbs up if you dig it, and stay tuned for Gal Guardians 2. That one might take a little longer to come out, but I will try my best to get it done at a reasonable time. Also, let me know what you want to see in the comments below. I'm always open for suggestions as long as it ain't horror stuff, cause I'm too much of a chicken to play them. Anyway, I hope I get to see y'all in the next one. Later!